Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhamma Sangham Namasami.
Dīgha Nikāya, the long discourses of the Buddha, Sutta 3, Ambaṭṭhasutta, with Ambaṭṭha. With Ambaṭṭha, so I have heard. At one time, the Buddha was wandering in the land of the Kosalans, together with a large Sangha of 500 mendicants, when he arrived at a village of the Kosalan Brahmins named Ichanangala. He stayed in a forest near Ichanangala. One. The section on Pokkharasāti. Now at that time, the Brahmin Pokkharasāti was living in Ukatta. It was a crown property given by King Pasenadi of Kosala, teeming with living creatures, full of hay, wood, water and grain, a royal park endowed to a Brahmin. Pokkharasāti heard. It seems the ascetic Gautama, a Sakyan, gone forth from a Sakyan family, has arrived at Ichanangala and is staying in a forest nearby. He has this good reputation. That Blessed One is perfected, a fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those fit for training, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. He has realized with his own insight this world, with its gods, maras and divinities, this population with its ascetics and Brahmins, gods and humans, and he makes it known to others. He proclaims a teaching that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, meaningful and well phrased, and he reveals a spiritual practice that's entirely full and pure. It's good to see such perfected ones. Two. The student Ambaṭṭha. Now at that time, Pokkharasāti had a student named Ambaṭṭha as his resident pupil. He was one who recited and remembered the hymns, and had mastered in the 3 Vedas, together with their vocabularies and ritual performance, their phonology and word classification, and the testaments as 5th. He knew them word by word, and their grammar. He was well versed in cosmology and the marks of a great man. He had been authorized as a master in his own tutor's scriptural heritage of the 3 Vedas, with the words, "What I know, you know, and what you know, I know." Then Pokkharasāti addressed Ambaṭṭha. "Dear Ambaṭṭha, the ascetic Gautama, a Sakyan, gone forth from a Sakyan family, has arrived at Ichanangala and is staying in a forest nearby. He has this good reputation. It's good to see such perfected ones. Please, dear Ambaṭṭha, go to the ascetic Gautama and find out whether or not he lives up to his reputation. Through you, I shall learn about the worthy Gautama." "But, sir, how shall I find out whether or not the ascetic Gautama lives up to his reputation?" Dear Ambaṭṭha, the 32 marks of a great man have been handed down in our hymns. A great man who possesses these has only 2 possible destinies, no other. If he stays at home, he becomes a king, a wheel-turning monarch, a just and principled king. His dominion extends to all 4 sides. He achieves stability in the country, and he possesses the 7 treasures. He has the following 7 treasures: the wheel, the elephant, the horse, the jewel, the woman, the householder, and the commander as the 7th treasure. He has over 1,000 sons, who are valiant and heroic, crushing the armies of his enemies. After conquering this land girt by sea, he reigns by principle, without rod or sword. But if he goes forth from the lay life into homelessness, he becomes a perfected one, a fully awakened Buddha, who has cast off the world's veil. But, dear Ambaṭṭha, I am the one who gives the hymns, and you are the one who receives them. "Yes, worthy sir," replied Ambaṭṭha. He got up from his seat, bowed, and respectfully circled Pokkharasāti, keeping him to his right. He mounted a chariot drawn by mares, and, together with several young students, set out for the forest near Ichanangala. He went by carriage as far as the train allowed, then descended and entered the monastery on foot. At that time, several mendicants were walking mindfully in the open air. Then the student Ambaṭṭha went up to those mendicants and said, "Good fellows, where is the worthy Gautama at present? For we have come here to see him." Then those mendicants thought, "This Ambaṭṭha is from a well-known family, and he is the pupil of the well-known Brahmin, Pokkharasāti. The Buddha won't mind having a discussion together with such gentlemen." They said to Ambaṭṭha, "Ambaṭṭha, that's his dwelling, with the door closed. Approach it quietly, without hurrying. Go on to the porch, clear your throat, and knock on the door panel. The Buddha will open the door." So he approached the Buddha's dwelling, cleared his throat, and knocked on the door panel, and the Buddha opened the door. Ambaṭṭha and the young students entered the dwelling. The young students exchanged greetings with the Buddha, and when the greetings and polite conversation were over, sat down to one side. But while the Buddha was sitting, Ambaṭṭha spoke some polite words or other while walking around or standing. So the Buddha said to him, "Ambaṭṭha, is this how you hold a discussion with elderly and senior Brahmins, the tutors of tutors? Walking around or standing while I'm sitting, speaking some polite words or other?" (2.1) The first use of the word primitives. "No, worthy Gautama, for it is proper for one Brahmin to converse with another while both are walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. But as to these shavelings, fake ascetics, primitives, black spawn from the feet of our kinsmen, I converse with them as I do with the worthy Gautama." "But Ambaṭṭha, you must have come here for some purpose. You should focus on that." Though this Ambaṭṭha is unqualified, he thinks he's qualified. What is that but lack of qualifications? When he said this, Ambaṭṭha became angry and upset with the Buddha because of being described as unqualified. He even attacked and badmouthed the Buddha himself, saying, "The ascetic Gautama will be worsted." He said to the Buddha, "Worthy Gautama, the Sakyans are rude, harsh, touchy, and argumentative. Primitive they are, and primitive they remain. They don't honour, respect, revere, worship, or venerate Brahmins. It is neither proper nor appropriate that the Sakyans, primitives that they are, don't honour, respect, revere, worship, or venerate Brahmins. And that's how Ambaṭṭha denigrated the Sakyans with the word primitives for the first time. (2.2) The second use of the word primitives. But Ambaṭṭha, how have the Sakyans wronged you? This one time, worthy Gautama, I went to Kapilavatthu on some business for my tutor, the Brahmin Pokkharasāti. I approached the Sakyans in their town hall. Now at that time, several Sakyans and Sakyan princes were sitting on high seats, poking each other with their fingers, giggling and playing together. In fact, they even presumed to giggle at me and didn't invite me to a seat. It is neither proper nor appropriate that the Sakyans, primitive that they are, don't honour, respect, revere, worship, or venerate Brahmins. And that's how Ambaṭṭha denigrated the Sakyans with the word primitives for the second time. (2.3) The third use of the word primitives. Even a little quail, Ambaṭṭha, speaks as she likes in her own nest. Kapilavatthu is the Sakyan's own place, Ambaṭṭha. It's not worthy of the venerable Ambaṭṭha to lose his temper over such a small thing. Worthy Gautama, there are these four classes: aristocrats, Brahmins, peasants, and menials. Three of these classes, aristocrats, peasants, and menials, in fact succeed only when serving the Brahmins. It is neither proper nor appropriate that the Sakyans, primitives that they are, don't honour, respect, revere, worship, or venerate Brahmins. And that's how Ambaṭṭha denigrated the Sakyans with the word primitives for the third time. (2.4) The word son of a slave girl is used. Then it occurred to the Buddha, this Ambaṭṭha puts the Sakyans down way too much by calling them primitives. Why don't I ask him about his own clan? So the Buddha said to him, "What is your clan, Ambaṭṭha?" "I am Kanayana, worthy Gautama, but recollecting the ancient name and clan of your mother and father, the Sakyans were the children of the masters, or you're descended from the son of a slave girl of the Sakyans. For the Sakyans regard King Okaka as their grandfather. Once upon a time, King Okaka, wishing to divert the royal succession to the son of his most beloved queen, banished the elder princes from the realm, Okamuka, Karakanda, Hatinika, and Sinisora. They made their home beside a lotus pond on the slopes of the Himalaya, where there was a large grove of sakura trees. For fear of breaking their line of birth, they slept with their own Saka, sisters. Then King Okaka addressed his ministers and councillors. "Where, sirs, have the princes settled now?" "Sire, there is a lotus pond on the slopes of the Himalaya, by a large grove of sakura trees. They've settled there. For fear of breaking their line of birth, they are sleeping with their own sisters." Then Ambaṭṭha, King Okaka, expressed this heartfelt sentiment. The princes are indeed Sakyans. The princes are indeed the best Sakyans. From that day on, the Sakyans were recognized, and he was their founder. Now, King Okaka, had a slave girl named Dīgha. She gave birth to a boy named Black. When he was born, Black Boy said, "Wash me, Mum, bathe me, get this filth off me. I will be useful for you." Whereas these days when people see goblins, they recognize them as goblins. In those days, they recognized goblins as black boys. They said, "He spoke as soon as he was born. A black boy is born. A goblin is born." From that day on, the Kanayanas were proclaimed, and he was their founder. That's how, recollecting the ancient name and clan of your mother and father, the Sakyans were the children of the masters, while you're descended from the son of a slave girl of the Sakyans. When he said this, those young students said to him, "Worthy Gautama, please don't put Ambaṭṭha down too much by calling him the son of a slave girl. He's well born, a gentleman, learned, who enunciates well, and is astute. He is capable of debating with the worthy Gautama about this." So the Buddha said to them, "Well, young students, if you think that Ambaṭṭha is ill-born, not a gentleman, unlearned, a poor speaker, witless, and not capable of debating with me about this, then leave him aside, and you can debate with me. But if you think that he's well-born, a gentleman, learned, who enunciates well, is astute, and is capable of debating with me about this, then you should stand aside and let him debate with me. He is capable of debating with you. We will be silent and let Ambaṭṭha debate with the worthy Gautama about this." So the Buddha said to Ambaṭṭha, "Well, Ambaṭṭha, there's a legitimate question that comes up. You won't like it, but you ought to answer anyway. If you fail to answer, by dodging the issue, remaining silent, or leaving, your head will explode into 7 pieces right here. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? According to what you have heard from elderly and senior Brahmins, the tutors of tutors, what is the origin of the Kanayanas, and who is their founder?" When he said this, Ambaṭṭha kept silent. For a second time, the Buddha put the question, and for the second time, Ambaṭṭha kept silent. So the Buddha said to him, "Answer now, Ambaṭṭha. Now is not the time for silence. If someone fails to answer a legitimate question, when asked 3 times by the Buddha, their head explodes into 7 pieces, there and then." Now at that time, the spirit, Vajrapāṇi, holding a massive iron spear, burning, blazing, and glowing, stood in the air above Ambaṭṭha, thinking, "If this Ambaṭṭha doesn't answer when asked a 3rd time, I'll blow his head into 7 pieces, there and then." And both the Buddha and Ambaṭṭha could see Vajrapāṇi. Ambaṭṭha was terrified, shocked and awestruck. Looking to the Buddha for shelter, protection and refuge, he sat down close by the Buddha and said, "What did you say? Please repeat the question." "What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? According to what you have heard from elderly and senior Brahmins, the tutors of tutors, what is the origin of the Kanayanas, and who is their founder?" "I have heard, worthy Gautama, that it is just as you say. That's the origin of the Kanayanas, and that's who their founder is." .5 The discussion of Ambaṭṭha's heritage. When he said this, those young students made an uproar. "It turns out Ambaṭṭha is ill-born, not a gentleman, son of a Sakyan slave girl, and that the Sakyans are the sons of his masters." and it seems that the ascetic Gautama spoke only the truth, though we presumed to rebuke him. Then it occurred to the Buddha, these young students put Ambaṭṭha down too much by calling him the son of a slave girl. Why don't I get him out of this? So the Buddha said to the young students, please don't put Ambaṭṭha down too much by calling him the son of a slave girl. That black boy was an eminent seer. He went to a southern country and memorized the divine spell. Then he approached King Ukaka and asked for the hand of his daughter, Madharupi. The king said to him, "Who the hell is this son of a slave girl to ask for the hand of my daughter?" Angry and upset, he fastened a razor-tipped arrow, but he was unable to either shoot it or to relax it. Then the ministers and councillors approached the seer black boy and said, "Spare the king, sir, spare him. The king will be safe, but if he shoots the arrow downwards, there will be an earthquake across the entire realm. Spare the king, sir, and spare the country. Both king and country will be safe, but if he shoots the arrow upwards, the heavens will not rain for the entire realm for 7 years. Spare the king, sir, spare the country, and let the heavens rain. Both king and country will be safe, and the heavens rain will rain, and if the king shoots the crown prince with an arrow, he will be safe and unruffled." So the ministers said to Ukaka, "Ukaka must shoot the crown prince with an arrow. He will be safe and unruffled." So King Ukaka shot the crown prince with an arrow, and he was safe and unruffled. Then the king was terrified, shocked and awestruck. Scared by the divine punishment, he gave the hand of his daughter, Madharupi. Young students, please don't put Ambaṭṭha down too much by calling him the son of a slave girl. That black boy was an eminent seer. The Supremacy, the Aristocrats. Then the Buddha addressed Ambaṭṭha. "What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Suppose an aristocrat boy were to sleep with a Brahmin girl, and they had a son. Would he receive a seat and water from the Brahmins?" "He would, worthy Gautama." "And would the Brahmins feed him at an offering of food for ancestors, an offering of a dish of milk rice, a sacrifice, or a feast for guests?" "They would." "And would the Brahmins teach him the hymns or not?" "They would." "And would he be kept from the women or not?" "He would not." "And would the aristocrats anoint him as king?" "No, worthy Gautama. Why is that? Because his maternity is unsuitable." "What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Suppose a Brahmin boy were to sleep with an aristocrat girl, and they had a son. Would he receive a seat and water from the Brahmins?" "He would, worthy Gautama." "And would the Brahmins feed him at an offering of food for ancestors, an offering of a dish of milk rice, a sacrifice, or a feast for guests?" "They would." "And would the Brahmins teach him the hymns or not?" "They would." "And would he be kept from the women or not?" "He would not." "And would the aristocrats anoint him as king?" "No, worthy Gautama. Why is that? Because his paternity is unsuitable." And so, Ambaṭṭha, the aristocrats are superior and the Brahmins inferior, whether comparing women with women or men with men. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Suppose the Brahmins for some reason were to shave a Brahmin's head. inflict him with a sack of ashes, and banish him from the nation or the city? Would he receive a seat and water from the Brahmins? No, worthy Gautama. And would the Brahmins feed him at an offering of food for ancestors, an offering of a dish of milk rice, a sacrifice, or a feast for guests? No, worthy Gautama. And would the Brahmins teach him the hymns or not? No, worthy Gautama. And would he be kept from the women or not? He would be. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Suppose the aristocrats, for some reason, were to shave an aristocrat's head, inflict him with a sack of ashes, and banish him from the nation or the city. Would he receive a seat and water from the Brahmins? He would, worthy Gautama. And would the Brahmins feed him at an offering of food for ancestors, an offering of a dish of milk rice, a sacrifice, or a feast for guests? They would. And would the Brahmins teach him the hymns or not? They would. And would he be kept from the women or not? He would not. At this point, Ambaṭṭha, that aristocrat has reached rock bottom, with head shaven, inflicted with a sack of ashes, and banished from city or nation. Yet still the aristocrats are superior, and the Brahmins are inferior. The divinity, Sanankumara, also spoke this verse. The aristocrat is best among people who take clan as the standard, but one accomplished in knowledge and conduct is first among gods and humans. That verse was well sung by the divinity Sanankumara, not poorly sung, well spoken, not poorly spoken, beneficial, not harmful, and it was approved by me. For I also say this: the aristocrat is best among people who take clan as the standard, but one accomplished in knowledge and conduct is the first among gods and humans. (4) Knowledge and conduct. But what, worthy Gautama, is that conduct, and what is that knowledge? Ambaṭṭha, in the supreme knowledge and conduct there is no discussion of genealogy or clan or pride. You deserve me, or you don't deserve me. Wherever there is giving and taking in marriage, there is such discussion. Whoever is shackled to questions of genealogy or clan or pride, or to giving and taking in marriage, is far from the supreme knowledge and conduct. The realization of supreme knowledge and conduct occurs when you've given up such things. But what, worthy Gautama, is that conduct, and what is that knowledge? Ambaṭṭha, it's when a realized one arises in the world, perfected, a fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those fit for training, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. He has realized with his own insight this world, with its gods and maharas and divinities, this population with its ascetics and Brahmins, gods and humans, and he makes it known to others. He proclaims a teaching that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, meaningful and well phrased, and he reveals a spiritual practice that's entirely full and pure. A householder hears that teaching, or a householder's child, or someone reborn in a good family. They gain faith in the realized one and reflect. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, they enter and remain in the first absorption, this pertains to their conduct. Furthermore, as the placing in the mind and keeping it connected are stilled, a mendicant enters and remains in the second absorption. This pertains to their conduct. Furthermore, with the fading away of rapture, they enter and remain in the third absorption. This pertains to their conduct. Furthermore, with the giving up of pleasure and pain, and the disappearance of former happiness and sadness, they enter and remain in the fourth absorption. This pertains to their conduct. This is that conduct. When their mind has become immersed in samadhi like this, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruptions, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable, they project it and extend it toward knowledge and vision. This pertains to their knowledge. They understand there is nothing further for this place. This pertains to their knowledge. This is that knowledge. This mendicant is said to be accomplished in knowledge, and also accomplished in conduct, and also accomplished in knowledge and conduct. And, Ambaṭṭha, there is no accomplishment in knowledge and conduct that is better or finer than this. Five. 4 causes of quitting. There are these 4 causes of quitting this supreme knowledge and conduct. What for? Firstly, take some ascetical Brahmin who, not managing to obtain the supreme knowledge and conduct, plunges into a wilderness region, carrying their pack with a shoulder pole, thinking they will get by eating fallen fruit. In fact, they succeed only in serving someone accomplished in knowledge and conduct. This is the first cause of quitting this supreme knowledge and conduct. Furthermore, take some ascetical Brahmin who, not managing to obtain this supreme knowledge and conduct, or to get by eating fallen fruit, plunges into a wilderness region, carrying a spade and basket, thinking they will get by eating tubers and fruit. In fact, they succeed only in serving someone accomplished in knowledge and conduct. This is the second cause of quitting the supreme knowledge and conduct. Furthermore, take some ascetical Brahmin who, not managing to obtain the supreme knowledge and conduct, or to get by eating fallen fruit, or to get by eating tubers and fruit, sets up a fire chamber in the neighborhood of a village or town, and dwells there, serving the sacred flame. In fact, they succeed only in serving someone accomplished in knowledge and conduct. This is the third cause of quitting this supreme knowledge and conduct. Furthermore, take some ascetical Brahmin who, not managing to obtain the supreme knowledge and conduct, or to get by eating fallen fruit, or to get by eating tubers and fruit, or to serve the sacred flame, sets up a 4-doored fire chamber at the crossroads and dwells there, thinking, when an ascetical Brahmin comes from the 4 quarters, I will honor them as best I can. In fact, they succeed only in serving someone accomplished in knowledge and conduct. This is the 4th cause of quitting this supreme knowledge and conduct. These are the 4 causes of quitting this supreme knowledge and conduct. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Is this supreme knowledge and conduct seen in your own tradition? No, worthy Gautama. Who am I in my tradition compared with the supreme knowledge and conduct? We are far from that. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Since you're not managing to obtain the supreme knowledge and conduct, Have you with your tradition plunged into a wilderness region, carrying your pack with a shoulder pole, thinking you will get by eating fallen fruit? No, worthy Gautama. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Have you with your tradition plunged into a wilderness region, carrying a spade and basket, thinking you will get by eating tubers and fruit? No, worthy Gautama. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Have you with your tradition set up a fire chamber in the neighbourhood of a village or town, and dwelt there, serving the sacred flame? No, worthy Gautama. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Have you with your tradition set up a four-doored fire chamber at the crossroads, and dwelt there, thinking, when an ascetic or Brahmin comes from the four quarters, I will honour them as best as I can? No, worthy Gautama. So you with your tradition are not only inferior to the supreme knowledge and conduct, you are even inferior to the four causes of quitting the supreme knowledge and conduct. But you have been told this by your tutor, the Brahmin Pokkharasāti. Who are these shavelings, fake ascetics, primitives, black spawn from the feet of our kinsmen, compared with conversation with the Brahmins of the three knowledges? Yet he himself has not even fulfilled one of the quittings. See, Ambaṭṭha, how your tutor Pokkharasāti has wronged you. Being like the seers of the past. Pokkharasāti lives off an endowment provided by King Pasenadi of Kosala, but the king won't even grant him an audience face to face. When he consults, he does so behind a curtain. Why wouldn't the king grant a face-to-face audience with someone who'd receive his legitimate presentation of food? See, Ambaṭṭha, how your tutor Pokkharasāti has wronged you. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? Suppose King Pasenadi was holding consultations with warrior chiefs or chieftains while sitting on an elephant's neck or on horseback, or while standing on the mat in a chariot, and suppose he'd get down from that place and stand aside. Then along would come a worker or their bondservant, who'd stand in the same place and continue the consultation. This is what King Pasenadi says, and this too is what the king says. Though he spoke in the king's words and gave the king's advice, does that qualify him to be the king or the king's minister? No, worthy Gautama. In the same way, Ambaṭṭha, the ancient seers of the Brahmins were Attaka, Vamaka, Vamadeva, Vesamita, Yamadagi, Angirasa, Bharadvaja, Vasata, Kassapa, and Bhagu. They were the authors and propagators of the hymns. Their hymnal was sung and propagated and compiled in ancient times, and these days Brahmins continue to sing and chant it, chanting what was chanted and teaching what was taught. You might imagine that, since you've learned their hymns by heart in your own tradition, that makes you a seer, or someone on the path to becoming a seer. But that is not possible. What do you think, Ambaṭṭha? According to what you have heard from elderly and senior Brahmins, the tutors of tutors, did those ancient Brahmin seers, nicely bathed and anointed, with hair and beard dressed, bedecked with jewels, earrings, and bracelets, dressed in white, amuse themselves, supplied and provided with the 5 kinds of sensual stimulation, like you do today in your tradition? No, worthy Gautama. did they eat boiled, fine rice, garnished with clean meat, with dark grains picked out, served with many soups and sauces, like you do today in your tradition? No, worthy Gautama. Did they amuse themselves with girls wearing thongs that show off their curves, like you do today in your tradition? No, worthy Gautama. Did they drive about in chariots, drawn by mares with plaited manes, whipping and lashing them onward with long goads, like you do today in your tradition? No, worthy Gautama. Did they get men with long swords to guard them in fortresses with moats dug and barriers in place, like you do today in your tradition? No, worthy Gautama. So Ambaṭṭha, in your own tradition, you are neither seer nor someone on the path to becoming a seer. Whoever has any doubt or uncertainty about me, let them ask me, and I will clear up their doubts with my answer. Seven. Seeing the two marks. Then the Buddha came out of his dwelling and proceeded to begin walking mindfully, and Ambaṭṭha did likewise. Then while walking beside the Buddha, Ambaṭṭha scrutinized his body for the 32 marks of a great man. He saw all of them except for two, which he had doubts about, whether the private parts are covered in a foreskin and the largeness of the tongue. Then it occurred to the Buddha, this student Ambaṭṭha sees all the marks except for two, which he has doubts about, whether the private parts are covered in a foreskin and the largeness of the tongue. Then the Buddha used his psychic power to will that Ambaṭṭha would see his private parts covered in a foreskin, and he stuck out his tongue and stroked back and forth on his ear holes and nostrils, and covered his entire forehead with his tongue. Then Ambaṭṭha thought, the ascetic Gautama possesses the 32 marks completely, lacking none. He said to the Buddha, well, now, sir, I must go. I have many duties and much to do. Please, Ambaṭṭha, go at your convenience. Then Ambaṭṭha mounted his chariot drawn by mares and left. Now at that time the Brahmin Pokkharasāti had come out from Ukkata together with a large group of Brahmins, and was sitting in his own park just waiting for Ambaṭṭha. Then Ambaṭṭha entered the park. He went by carriage as far as the terrain allowed, then descended and approached the Brahmin Pokkharasāti on foot. He bowed and sat down to one side, and Pokkharasāti said to him, I hope, dear Ambaṭṭha, you saw the worthy Gautama. I saw him, sir. Well, does he live up to his reputation or not? He does, sir. The worthy Gautama possesses the 32 marks completely, lacking none. And did you have some discussion with him? I did. And what kind of discussion did you have with him? Then Ambaṭṭha informed Pokkharasāti of all that they had discussed. Then Pokkharasāti said to Ambaṭṭha, Oh, our bloody fake scholar, our fake learned man, who pretends to be proficient in the 3 Vedas, a man who behaves like this ought, when their body breaks up after death, to be reborn in a place of loss, a bad place, the underworld, hell. It's only because you repeatedly attacked the worthy Gautama like that he kept bringing up charges against us. Angry and upset, he kicked Ambaṭṭha over and wanted to go and see the Buddha right away. Pokkharasāti visits the Buddha. Then those Brahmins said to Pokkharasāti, "It's much too late to visit the ascetic Gautama today. You can visit him tomorrow." So Pokkharasāti had delicious fresh and cooked foods prepared in his own home. Then he mounted a carriage and, with attendants carrying torches, set out from Ambaṭṭha for the forest near Ikānangala. He went by carriage as far as the terrain allowed, then descended and entered the monastery on foot. He went up to the Buddha and exchanged greetings with him. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, he sat down to one side and said to the Buddha, "Master Gautama, has my resident pupil, the student Ambaṭṭha, come here?" "Yes, he has, Brahmin." "And did you have some discussion with him?" "I did." "And what kind of discussion did you have with him?" Then the Buddha informed Pokkharasāti of all they had discussed. Then Pokkharasāti said to the Buddha, "Ambaṭṭha is a fool, worthy Gautama. Please forgive him." "May the student Ambaṭṭha be happy, Brahmin." Then Pokkharasāti scrutinized the Buddha's body for the 32 marks of a great man. He saw all of them except for 2, which he had doubts about, whether the private parts are covered in a foreskin and the largeness of the tongue. Then it occurred to the Buddha, Pokkharasāti sees all the marks except for 2, which he has doubts about, whether the private parts are covered in a foreskin and the largeness of the tongue. Then the Buddha used his psychic power to will that Pokkharasāti would see his private parts covered in a foreskin, and he stuck out his tongue and stroked back and forth on his ear holes and nostrils and covered his entire forehead with his tongue. Pokkharasāti thought, the ascetic Gautama possesses the 32 marks completely, lacking none. He said to the Buddha, "Would the worthy Gautama, together with the mendicant Sangha, please accept today's meal from me?" The Buddha consented with silence. Then, knowing that the Buddha had consented, Pokkharasāti announced the time to him. "It's time, worthy Gautama, the meal is ready." Then the Buddha robed up in the morning and, taking his bowl and robe, went to the home of Pokkharasāti, together with the mendicant Sangha, where he sat on the seat spread out. Then Pokkharasāti served and satisfied the Buddha with his own hands, with delicious, fresh and cooked foods, while his young students served the Sangha. When the Buddha had eaten and washed his hand and bowl, Pokkharasāti took a low seat and sat to one side. Then the Buddha taught him, step by step, with a talk on giving, ethical conduct, and heaven. He explained the drawbacks of sensual pleasure, so sordid and corrupt, and the benefit of renunciation. And when the Buddha knew that Pokkharasāti's mind was ready, pliable, rid of hindrances, elated and confident, he explained the special teaching of the Buddhas. Suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path. Just as a clean cloth rid of stains would properly absorb dye, in that very seat the stainless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma arose in the Brahmin Pokkharasāti. Everything that has a beginning has an end. (9) Pokkharasāti declares himself a lay follower. Then Pokkharasāti saw, attained, understood, and fathomed the Dhamma. He went beyond doubt, got rid of indecisions, and became self-assured and independent of others regarding the teacher's instructions. He said to the Buddha, "Excellent, worthy Gautama, excellent," as if he were righting the overturned, or revealing the hidden, or pointing out the path to the lost, or lighting a lamp in the dark so people with clear eyes can see what's there. Just so has the worthy Gautama made the teaching clear in many ways. Together with my children, wives, retinue and ministers, I go for refuge to the worthy Gautama, to the teaching and to the mendicant Sangha. From this day forth, may the worthy Gautama remember me as a lay follower who has gone for refuge for life. Just as the worthy Gautama visits other devoted families in Ukata, may he visit mine. The Brahmin boys and girls there will bow to you, rise in your presence, give you a seat and water, and gain confidence in their hearts. That will be for their lasting welfare and happiness. That's nice of you to say, householder. Through this merit, may all beings attain the omniscient state of enlightenment and conquer the enemy of faults and delusion. May they all be liberated from this ocean of samsara and from its pounding waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death.
Tisarani nasati samana sila dhamma samadayitva sadhukam sura